Okay.
Yeah.
So what's going on with these higher price clients or the larger bookings?
Yeah, well, so the guy who brought me the Nikes, he's like a um widower and just like a business guy, travels a lot, whatever. And yeah, just I guess he wants a companion. He really liked me. And um yeah, he lives in Perth, and he's spoken about, like, I don't, like, some of it's probably a fantasy, but like, who knows? But like, spoken about like what would it be like if you came, like, do you go on travel trips with people? I've had two clients ask me that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like, what would that be like? I think he asked whether what if I could pretend to be his girlfriend with with friends that we might see traveling, that kind of thing, which I have no idea about. Um, yeah, and also the amount of communication between the bookings as well. Like, I don't know what's like, I'm trying to keep it professional as well, but then yeah, if they're like, wanting something more from me, like, how much more do I get? Like, I don't know what to do with that kind of situation. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, firstly, these are all great problems to have.
Yeah, they are.
Different to our starting problems, hey?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And this is all from the selfie profile.
Yeah, I know, right? What the fuck?
Awesome, awesome. Let's tackle the three things separately. So let's talk about the specific Perth guy first, then we'll talk about paid trips and then communication.
Cool.
So tell me about this Perth client. How many times have you seen him and how long have those bookings been for?
Yeah. So I've only seen him once, and it was for 2 hours.
Hmm.
Yeah, and we've just messaged after that a bit. That's it.
How much did he pay for the 2 hours?
1100.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And the inquiry has been like, it sounds like he's asked for a range of things. He's asked essentially about like a companionship arrangement, and then he's asked for paid trips. Has
Mm-hmm.
he asked for anything else specific?
Um, that's I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna look at his messages quickly.
Okay.
Um, um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. What did you respond with so far when he asked those things?
Um, I said we're just talking about. I just mentioned I haven't been away and traveled in ages, blah blah blah, and then um, I said he said, "Do you think you could act like my girlfriend for a couple of weeks while we'd be around friends and family, one of my business partners?" I said, "That's a really great question. I think I could. We'd have to. We can definitely talk more in depth about what it can look like if that's what you're wanting. And
Mhm.
maybe we could start with some extended time together when you're next in town. What do you think?"
Mhm.
And he said that's like a really great plan.
Interesting. Okay, so he specifically wants you to be with other people and obviously have them think that you're just a normal girlfriend.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Putting the commercial side to the side,
Hmm.
how do you feel about that in general with this guy who you've met before? Given that you've seen him, you kind of know his age, what he looks like, all
Hmm.
that stuff plays into
Mm.
an arrangement when there's a public component, because it's one thing to do it with a guy in his 40s and another thing to
Mm.
do it with a
Yeah.
70-year-old. So
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
are you actually open to it?
I mean, I'm curious. Yeah, I think there's an opening to it. I think it depends on, how much.
Yeah.
He's in his 50s, I would say.
Hmm.
He's pretty like fit and everything. I don't know. Yeah, like there was a bit of like banter and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where was it left, the conversation?
Where's the conversation left? So since then, he's kind of just checked in every now and again, like, have a beautiful day, happy Valentine's Day, your runners are on the way, that kind of thing. And then the runners were the wrong size, so we just swapped them over. And yeah, just me saying thank you pretty much for the swap over. Yeah.
How long ago was that booking?
Maybe it was last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how frequently is he checking in? Is it like on the daily, every second day?
He was so it was on the 8th of Feb, so 2 weeks ago. It was
Okay.
kind of a little, not so much daily.
Mhm.
Every couple, yeah, maybe every, where is it? So he checked, we spoke the next day a little bit, the Saturday as well, the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, and that's it.
So was the booking on a Thursday and then you spoke Friday, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday?
Yeah.
Okay. And then nothing since then?
No.
Okay. Was he predominantly instigating conversation?
Yeah. Where is it? I think where is it? Yeah, he checked in after the session, and then because I was going to do the nurture anyway, and then yeah, he's been instigating it. Yeah.
Okay. And do you generally, like, he says something like sweet, like checking in, and then you'll kind of text back and forth, and then, but it's not usually like centered around work conversation? Is it more like pleasantries?
Um. Yeah, probably like a bit of, like, there was like shoe talk, and then what happened with the shoe talk? I sent him like a selfie. Um, like, just acknowledging, like, yeah, he's like, "You're so welcome." Alice mentioned, like, that if I ever take you overseas, you're going to have to tell me your real name. It's a small gesture to say thank you for yesterday. You made me feel calm immediately, and you made it feel real, if that makes sense. And I'm like, that's so great. And then I'm like, don't tease me about the overseas. Thank you so much for the Nikes. And then it was like talking about the overseas. I've kind of like, when he's kind of said some things, I'm like, oh, okay, when are you next visiting? Like, trying to like bring it into work.
Mm.
And then he's like, nothing's confirmed yet, but it will be in March. And then touching on the shoes, that I've got an email, and then I was going to send him a selfie in my bathers. And then he said, Happy Valentine's Day. And I said, Happy Valentine's Day. The gift arrived just in time. I'll pick it up at the reception. And then, yeah.
Okay.
Trees. Yeah. Yeah, you probably get the idea.
No, this is all good. This is
Okay.
all good context, and I'm leading somewhere. There's a method
Yeah.
to madness right now.
Yeah, I
Okay.
get it.
Is this the first time you've experienced this kind of thing with a client?
I think so. Like I've definitely experienced like people wanting to talk to me, but they haven't bought me anything. So yeah, that's probably where I'm more inclined, because it sounds like he's like willing to spend money. So
Yeah.
probably the first time with that side of things.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about this guy specifically, but then we'll go broader to companionship because they're not exactly the same thing.
Right.
My sense of this guy, and this is a positive reflection on you and your service in the room, but this is one of the challenges with like the clients want an experience that feels real. Exactly what he said, right? Like that is literally the money comment. Like that is how you want all of your clients to feel during the encounter. But then we have to be more savvy about outside of the encounter, or even sometimes during the encounter, continuing to enforce that it is a paid experience in the appropriate way. And my vibe from this guy is that he's pushing into the shades of grey territory. Classic flags for that, Eve, is stuff like asking about your real name and sending you texts on the daily to chat, and then kind of being vague about work specific. Like, sure, they start with talking about the paid arrangements, blah, blah, but then that kind of doesn't go anywhere. And then you will continue to message them with the pleasantries, because obviously in the back of your mind, you're hoping that it leads to that. But to be in the back of their mind, what I'm gathering from this guy is that he's hoping that it leads somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it is a fine balance, and there's no kind of like perfect way to do it, but the things that you've mentioned about trying to bring it back to work talk, etc., that is the best way to do it. And the reality is there will be some clients who you lose them because at the end of the day, they're actually looking for a relationship. Like they're actually looking for a partner, and they're looking in the wrong place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what I had a feeling it was about, because he said he hasn't been with anyone else since his wife. So there's probably like all these feelings and stuff coming up as well.
Yeah. So in these scenarios with guys like this, I think what the goal is to extend their booking longevity for as long as possible.
What do you mean?
So what I mean by that is that you have to try and enforce the boundary of amazing booking experience versus like not too personal, so that they continue to book you for as long as possible, but understanding that this guy probably is more likely looking for a girlfriend and he's likely to move on eventually.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's okay. But the goal is that we keep him coming back and booking for as long as possible. So I think the way to do that is when it comes to the communication, I will have like a 2-message rule, 3 at max. If the conversation isn't progressing towards arranging a booking after 3 messages at max, I will like end the conversation politely.
Yeah.
So that we,
like,
what was that?
What kind of, how would you end the conversation politely?
It will be something like, so depending on how the interaction goes, like what you're saying about like, so when are you going to next be in town is perfect. And then he says, oh, I have nothing lined up, but probably March. My response to that would be amazing. Well, March is a month for me to look forward to. I'm just about to insert normal life thing here, go to the gym. So let's talk again soon. Let me know when you have those dates arranged.
Yeah. Okay. Let me know the dates. Yeah. Good.
So you're still giving the personal component, which is important because it's what so many escorts don't do, and it's what guys like this and the high-paying clients are looking for. But you're ending it so that they continually reminded, like, oh, this is a paid experience, and that's how you keep them for as long as possible. And then in your recontact, the next time you follow up with him, let's say you don't hear from him, so it's February now, right? And he said he's going to come back in March. I'd probably be waiting 2 weeks. And then in 2 weeks, I'd be texting him something really pleasant and then referencing, I've so been looking forward to March. The time is almost here. Do you have those dates? Here's a selfie, blah, blah, blah. So you're reigniting the excitement, but you're still keeping it firmly in the work realm, but personalizing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And so what, say if he doesn't have his dates yet, you're like, okay, well.
Then I would still message back a couple of times, because you don't want to just be like, oh, you don't have the dates. Okay, see ya. He might say something like, oh, unfortunately, and I wouldn't be surprised if this does happen, because the March trip might not actually be real. Oh, actually, it's been pushed to April now, but how have you been? I've been thinking of you. Then you can be like, you can make a comment about the work trip, like, oh, well, that's what work trips are like after all, haha, whatever. I've been so good. Insert something like nice and sweet, particularly when I think about insert something that happened last time you saw him. So I really can't wait to do that again with you when you work out your dates in April. And then he'll text you back again, and then you send some sort of response. Oh, okay, I'm just going off to lunch with my girlfriends. Wrap it up again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, great. That makes sense. And that was kind of the sense that I got. I'm like, how do I, like, not go too far into just like pleasantry chatting and filling that void for him, it's like, that's not what it's about.
And it's a difficult balance. Like, I remember when I first started getting clients like these, like, obviously you have no idea, like, and even they don't know, Eve. The thing is, like, it's nothing malicious. Like, think about it from his perspective. He's alone. He's met a beautiful woman who's given him an incredible experience. Like, he can't help but catch the feels, and he's trying to feel out if this has a potential to be something real. You're trying to feel out if he's going to spend more money. Like, nobody's wrong. It's just you have to understand where they're coming from. But it's actually in his best interest that you continue to enforce an emotional boundary that he's probably just too vulnerable to do for himself right now, and also to give him his dues. He probably doesn't have the experience either. So I think you're doing the right thing. It's also the little things, like, it's really tempting when they ask your real name to give them, like, a lot of girls, and I used to do this, will give them like a fake real name. Like, they'll say, what's your real name? And you'll say, oh, it's Sarah. Well, it's actually important that you don't answer that question, that you make it clear that you're not going to give them that information, but you can do it in an appropriate way. So to that question, I would often say something like, let's pretend the client's name is John. John, that is such a cheeky question. Obviously, I can't tell you that, but you know what? For you, I'm gonna let's give each other special nicknames. I'm gonna rename you Justin, and you can call me Cassie. Like, so you're addressing and making it clear I'm not going to tell you, but then you still are being flirty and cheeky and fun and building an element of specialness. But within the work boundary. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I like that.
And you can do that about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
That's this guy. And look, I wouldn't give the companionship, the trips with his friends, any more thought at this stage until he's like sees you again, at least. Because I'm getting the vibe that it's really more he's trying to push you into personal territory, and he's using these potential scenarios to kind of see if that's on the table for you, because he doesn't want to come right out and basically just say, I like you, can we go on a date? Because he's worried that you'll say no, or he's not sure if it's appropriate. So he's like doing this instead.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I actually have had that before. Someone's asked me for dinner and I was like, yeah, I could cost this much. And they're like,
that's really funny.
Okay.
What did they say, by the way?
Oh, they were like, oh no, I thought we had a connection. I thought there was a vibe there. And I'm like, yeah. I haven't seen them again.
And look, that is the difficult part of being good at your job. Like, this is going to happen. On the one hand, you kind of want them to feel that way, but on the other hand, this is like what can happen, and that's fine. We just move on to the next. I had a client once contact me and asked to do an ongoing arrangement at a cheaper rate because the sex is obviously like so good for you too. So this would be good for you because it would mean you get to sleep with me more frequently.
Oh my God.
Bless.
It must be so good for you too. favors. Oh my god, I like his strategy. Like, we try.
Totally. Can't fault his logic, hey? The answer was politely no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's this guy. Should we talk about companionship and trips in a larger sense?
yeah. I think that'll be good. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm,
The challenge with companionship is getting clarity on the commercial side of it.
commercial side.
Yeah, as in often when people like, so have you ever done sugar arrangements?
I've tried, but didn't. Yeah.
How did you find it? What happened?
I've been on the sugar side, but I just, I didn't like it really. They didn't want to pay much for what it was.
They didn't want to talk about it, all that stuff.
Yeah. But like it was weird.
Yeah. And a lot of people start in sugaring and then eventually transition to escorting because they're like, all of that is just such hard work.
Mm. Yeah, total emotional labor for not enough money.
Yes. So, but look, for every like hard work potential, there will be, well, not for everyone, maybe 1 in 10, there'll be a client who is genuinely looking for that and will pay for that. And I have had those arrangements before where it is overall a lower rate, but there was like a set frequency of meeting. There was a weekly fee. There was minor communication in between. It was ultimately cheaper than like escorting rates, but like it was fixed, ongoing. He paid in advance, like fortnightly, and it was kind of the best you could hope for when you think it through.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that kind of security, that ongoing, money that's there.
Yeah, correct. Like we would meet once a fortnight for like 4 hours. He'd arrange everything. He'd deposit at the start of every fortnight a set amount. We'd chat a couple times, like super brief, and then we'd meet that day, have our 4 hour session and leave. And I knew them coming every fortnight, but I think it was like $1,500 for 4 hours compared to like $1,000 escort rate that I was charging at the time. It's like the benefit was that it was relatively fixed, but like still not ultimately fixed. He could have just not paid the fee one time and then I would have had to deal with that. I was just lucky that he didn't.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is that the reason why so many people struggle with, oh, I've tried sugar and it was difficult and they didn't want to talk about it, is that's the nature of it, is the mindset of somebody looking for companionship often is that really they just want a girlfriend with perks and they don't really want to have to be paying for it. It's just like a segue, or they want a much lower rate and the transactional side of things becomes difficult to communicate about because you're trying to put forward that you're there not just for the money, and they will use that as a reason to not discuss the money, but at the end of the day that is what you're both there for.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it all becomes very murky. So that's just like an explainer for why it is typically so difficult. But then the antidote to that, if you're going to entertain this, is really you have to have clear commercial conversations.
Yeah.
They have to agree to pay in advance, and then you need to stand your ground if they don't do it. So to use the example of the guy who was fortnightly for $1,500, I was fortunate that he never missed a payment. And in fact, I ended the arrangement and offered to refund him and he said, no, keep the money, which was super lovely. But like I was the flaky one in that scenario. But if he hadn't have made the payment one fortnight, it would have been tempting to not want to lose him, for me to be like, oh, if he had come up with an excuse for why he hasn't paid, which is often what happens, it would have been tempting for me to just go ahead with the arrangement because I didn't want to lose him. But actually it's more important than ever to enforce that, no problem, well, once you have made up the fee or whatever they always like to call allowance, they use these stupid words to make themselves feel better. So allowance, once you have submitted the allowance, then like we'll just push the meet back a week. And you can do it in a polite way, but it's just more important than ever that A, you get the money up front so they don't mess you around, just like an escort situation. And B, when they don't do it, that you stand your ground and don't do something in the hopes that you'll keep them, because actually the reverse happens. When you do it, it complicates things, it muddies the waters. They know that they can get away with it. You feel better, so you stop doing as good of a, experience for them, and it's kind of all just downhill.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So then turning to like escorting, if you had a client, so let's pretend this perf guy genuinely wanted a companionship arrangement, the answer would be like, sure. And then you would, if you were happy to do it, there would have to be a clear conversation around the general gist. Okay, like how many times a month are we meeting? How long are we meeting for? What's the agreed payment? When is it going to be paid? And then there's some stuff that you can't have perfect clarity over, like that guy that I had. It's not like I specified how many times we could talk a week, but I used similar strategy to what I'm just talking about. Like we might have a 10-minute conversation, chit chat, and then I would wrap it up and go and talk about how I'm looking forward to seeing him at our next meeting. Like I just had to continually enforce that. And thankfully, he was the right guy to be doing that sort of thing. He genuinely wanted to do what we had agreed, and that was no problem. But it's really all about the clarity in advance. And if they won't have that conversation, then the truth is they're not really looking for what they say they're looking for. And you're better off just saying to them, oh, no problem. Like if you haven't kind of thought that through, just do so and come back to me when you have. But for the meantime, let's just proceed with blah, blah. Let's meet this day, this time. We'll have a great time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so if they have that conversation, have the clear agreements and expectations, and go from there, or not, or just keep it as like, seeing each other when he's in town or whatever.
Yes, and what most clients are looking for, like the ones who really want it, let's ignore the ones who are just shopping for a cheap experience or the second girlfriend. Let's use my client as an example, my sugar arrangement as an example. What they're looking for is somebody who is reliable, because escorts often aren't, where they have it set up so it fits into their life. They know that they're attracted to you, and ultimately, yes, a cheaper price. And on the flip side, for me, the reason why I agreed to do that is because it's consistent. They pay in advance. I'm familiar with the client, blah, blah, blah. So there is that trade-off. And what we came to was, like I told you, 4 hours a fortnight, 1,500. And I agreed to essentially a discount of my rate because the trade-off was that it got paid in advance. Like I knew what to expect. And you just have to feel that out with the client based on what they want and what you want, which is why you need to be able to have an open conversation about, like, it's not going to be just this, like, they'll often start the conversation with, oh, well, we'll just meet and then we'll talk like a real girlfriend. It's like, well, it just doesn't work that way. If the tables were reversed and you were having that conversation with somebody about a service that you provide, you wouldn't entertain that. So
yeah. And so, like, what about like fly me to you, like just going on a trip every now and again? Is that considered companionship, or is that like, how would that work?
That would just be a fly me to you. You'll get inquiries for clients who like literally contact you and book that with you as like a one-off. And then you'll get inquiries potentially like this Perth guy who meets you once and then wants to take you away on a trip. And that's where it becomes more of a conversation. Again, you're leading with like the details. Where are you going? How long are you wanting to spend together? I find out all that information up front. Then once I know, I start with Eve, like, okay, what's my actual rate for the time that they're spending with me technically? Like if my rate's $1,000 an hour, they want to go away for 48 hours. They expect that we're going to be together like 80% of that time. If I was charging $1,000 an hour, what would the rate be? And that's in my mind, the starting rate and how I think about it, because people often underprice because like that would generally be like a lot of money, right? Like imagine $40,000. They're probably not going to pay that.
Yeah.
But it helps to put in perspective when you're pitching the rate, like, John, that sounds amazing. You've worked out all the details. My 1 hour rate is X. However, obviously, because we're going away together and having an extended experience, I'm happy to have a modified rate that reflects that scenario. Therefore, the investment will be 12,000. What do you think about that? I always start higher. And then just see what they say, because they'll never want to put forward a rate to you And of course, we don't want to put forward a rate to them, but you kind of need to take charge. And that's how I do it, is I tell them, this is actually how much this is based on my hourly rate, which is advertised on my profile where you found me. However, for you and for the quality of the experience, I'm willing to do X, which is more affordable, plus you're absorbing the travel costs. What do you think? And when you throw that number out there, you'll typically get a, oh, well, I was really only expected to pay 8,000. And you might be happy to do that job for 8,000. You know, at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong. It's what you're comfortable with, particularly when you've met the client, when you have the detail. Like some trips, if it's a business trip and they're there working and you're actually only going to spend a few hours with them. Like I had this guy who used to book an overnight with me for $8,000, but I'd only see him for like 2 contact hours, and then we'd sleep together and we'd have breakfast and he would go because he was working. So like
amazing.
Yeah, like I actually would have seen him for less, but once I knew him, but he was happy to pay, so obviously I didn't. But if he had asked me to go on a trip with him and laid out like, hey, it's going to be 2 days, but really you're going to be by yourself, this and that, I would have been more flexible on the rate as opposed to somebody who wanted to like spend 24/7 together. So that's why when they inquire, don't even worry about the rate at first. You're looking for the detail on like, where are we going? What are we going to be doing? How long are we going to be spending together? What are you looking for? You know, make it about the experience. And then once you know that, you can go away and consider, okay, well, what am I actually comfortable with? And then the way that you pitch it is, here's the actual commercial rate based on my profile, but here is what I'm comfortable doing because of blah, blah, blah. Insert reason. What do you think? And then you'll get either a yes or a, oh my God, I was expecting this. And then you can like negotiate from there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, I've got another client who, goes on a work trip and just wanted company on that. So yeah, maybe that could be, something similar kind of arrangement of like, okay, I'll come on your trip and hopefully he's working and then I'll just see him in the evening.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to get all that info and do they want you to stay with you? Are they going to get you your own room? Like,
yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. And I guess, it would be so great to have those longer bookings and bigger, like, I guess that's what I'm working towards anyway. So it's happening. It's just, I don't know.
The fact you're even getting these inquiries from a selfie only profile while we put the premium profile together is fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
So once we have finished that and we've got you on the different sites, your rates are at a different price point, we're marketing you differently, then those things will come.
Okay. Yeah. There's patience, dear one. Thank you, Isabel.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, talk to you soon. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
If you want to learn more escorting tips, just click the link below this video.